Deep in the heart of the land lies a place shrouded in mystery, the Whispering Woods. A place where the wind whistles through the leaves, creating an eerie symphony that resonates throughout the night. Folklore paints a picture of this place, a canvas of intrigue and suspense, filled with tales that would make your skin crawl. And in the midst of this enigmatic forest lived a man, a reclusive figure known as Robert. Robert's home was a quaint cabin, a relic passed down through generations. It stood solitary, a lone beacon amidst the dense, whispering wilderness. Robert, a man of practicality, chose to disregard the local chatter, brushing off tales of the supernatural. He lived his life in solitude, undeterred by the whispers of the woods. The locals warned of supernatural occurrences in the woods, but Robert paid them no heed. One moonless night, as Robert sat by the flickering fire, a faint, whispering voice called to him from outside his window. The voice was soft, almost a breeze rustling leaves, but unmistakably human. It was a woman's voice, laced with desperation, a plea for help resonating in the chilly night air. The voice had an uncanny quality, a spectral tone that seemed out of place in the earthly realm, and it sent a shiver down Robert's spine, making his hair stand on end. But it was not fear that gripped him. It was curiosity, a nagging urge to uncover the source of the voice. It was as if the voice had cast a spell, ensnaring his senses, compelling him to venture into the unknown. So despite the prickling unease, Robert decided to heed the call. Grabbing his lantern, he pushed open his cabin door and stepped into the ink-black night. Outside, the woods were a symphony of nocturnal sounds. The hoot of an owl, the rustle of leaves under the scampering feet of unseen creatures, the distant howl of a wolf. Amid this orchestra of nature, the whispering voice was a haunting melody, a chorus guiding him deeper into the heart of the woods. As he ventured further, the voice grew louder, more insistent. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time, a siren song pulling him deeper into the labyrinth of trees. It was as if the voice and the woods were one, a living entity beckoning him, a puppeteer pulling at his strings. The further he went, the more the woods seemed to change. The trees grew denser, their silhouettes looming like silent sentinels against the starless sky. The air grew colder, and a thick fog began to roll in, shrouding the path ahead in an eerie glow. Robert felt a chill of apprehension, but pressed on, driven by the whispering voice that promised answers just out of sight. Guided by the voice, he stepped deeper into the dense woods, where the trees loomed like silent sentinels. He was now a part of this nocturnal play, a character in the unfolding mystery of the Whispering Woods. The whispering voice grew louder, leading him to a clearing where a woman with disheveled hair stood, her eyes filled with sorrow. Her pale skin glowed in the dim light, and her voice trembled as she spoke. She claimed to be lost, having misplaced herself in the labyrinthine forest while camping with friends. The fear in her eyes mirrored the terror in her voice, a chilling testament to the treacherous nature of the Whispering Woods. With a heart heavy with sympathy, Robert offered to guide her back to the relative safety of civilization. His cabin was nestled in the heart of the woods, and he knew the terrain like the back of his hand. As they began their journey, the woman shared her story. She spoke of laughter around the campfire, of songs sung and stories told, but the merriment had turned into a nightmare when she found herself alone, separated from her friends, and lost in the whispering wilderness. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the woods, Robert's lantern cast long shadows that danced and flickered on the forest floor. The trees whispered their secrets, rustling in the wind, their voices joining the symphony of the night. The woman's anxiety grew palpable. She spoke of disembodied voices echoing in the darkness, of a presence that seemed to be watching, waiting. Despite her growing fear, Robert pressed on. His determination to guide her out of the woods was unyielding. He reassured her, his voice steady despite his own creeping unease. The forest seemed alive around them, the trees shifting, the path twisting and turning in ways he'd never witnessed before. The deeper they went, the more he realized they were hopelessly lost. The woods, it seemed, had a mind of their own. Despite her growing unease, Robert was determined to guide her through the eerie woods. His promise to her rang in his ears, a solemn vow in the face of an increasingly terrifying situation. What had begun as a simple act of goodwill was quickly spiraling into a nightmare, a chilling dance with the unknown in the heart of the Whispering Woods. The further they ventured, the more Robert realized they were hopelessly lost. The trees seemed to shift and move, obscuring their path. The night was thick with a sense of dread, and the whispering woods seemed to close in around them. The silence was broken only by the rustling leaves and the woman's terrified sobs. Panic began to claw at the edges of their sanity. The woman clung to Robert, her trembling fingers digging into his arm. Her eyes, once filled with sorrow, now mirrored the terror that gripped them both. The whispers of the woods grew louder, as if the trees themselves were closing in on them. The woman's pleas grew more frantic, her voice a shrill contrast to the low, murmuring whispers of the woods. She begged to leave, her words tumbling out in a rush of fear. Robert, his heart pounding in his chest, tried to calm her, but his own fear echoed in his words. The lantern's light flickered, casting eerie shadows on the trees. The woman's face, illuminated in its glow, was pale and drawn. She muttered about strange voices, about feeling watched. Robert could not dismiss her fears, for he felt it too, an unsettling presence that lingered in the shadows. Deeper into the woods they stumbled upon an ancient, gnarled tree. Its twisted roots and gnarled branches seemed to pulse with a sinister aura. The woman, now inconsolable, urged Robert to leave the woods and never return. In that moment, Robert's heart sank with a realization. The woods were not as they seemed. The voice that had lured him here, the woman's desperate pleas, they were part of a nightmarish ruse. He had been led into a trap, into the heart of the haunting woods. They turned back, retracing their steps in a desperate bid for escape. The woman's voice faded into the night, and the woods fell eerily silent. The whispering woods, once a place of solitude for Robert, had revealed their true, sinister nature. He understood that the woods were not as they seemed, and the voice that had called him had led him into a nightmare. They stumbled upon an ancient, gnarled tree with a sinister aura. The woman, now inconsolable, urged Robert to leave the woods and never return. It was a plea that echoed in the hollow silence, a chilling reminder of the lurking danger. Robert, a man of determination, felt a shiver of dread. The once familiar woods now felt like a labyrinth of fear, shrouded in the darkness of the moonless night. The whispers of the woods, once a mere curiosity, now sounded like menacing taunts, echoing the woman's plea. With the woman's warning etching into his mind, Robert decided to turn back. The path back was not easy. The once familiar trails were now cloaked in the eerie darkness, the whispering winds carrying the echo of the woman's voice. The woods seemed to resist, their towering shadows dancing menacingly in the flickering glow of his lantern. But Robert was relentless. He retraced their steps, his heart pounding in his chest. He was not just fighting the physical exhaustion, but also the mental torment, the fear of losing his way in the labyrinth of the whispering woods. After what felt like an eternity, the sight of his cabin emerged from the darkness, a beacon of hope amidst the haunting shadows. Relief washed over Robert as he stepped inside, the woman's voice fading into a distant whisper, lost in the rustling of the leaves. The woods fell silent, their eerie whispers replaced by the comforting crackling of his fireplace. Robert, though safe within his cabin, felt a chill run down his spine. The encounter had left him with a profound realization. The whispering woods were not to be trifled with. Haunted by the memory of that night, Robert never dared to trifle with the whispering woods again. It was a lesson learned the hard way, a chilling tale etched in his memory, a constant reminder of the night he was lured into the realm of the unknown. The tale of the whispering woods lived on, a warning to all who dared to venture into the heart of the eerie forest. The tale of the whispering woods lived on, a warning to all who dared to enter the eerie forest. It was in these shadowed depths that the reclusive Robert encountered the enigma of the lost woman, a spectral figure who beckoned him into the heart of the woods. A voice whispering in the dark lured him deeper into a world where reality seemed to shift and bend, where the familiar became the unfamiliar. His noble intention to help a soul in distress turned into a chilling ordeal, a journey into the unknown that he was fortunate to escape from. The whispering woods, with their ancient trees and shadowy secrets, taught Robert a profound lesson. The woods are not to be trifled with, and the voices that whisper in the night may not always be what they seem. Where voices could lead one to a fate worse than death, the whispering woods stand as a reminder of the unknown that lurks in the shadows.